Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. I think this is show 564. We have a couple of great guests for you tonight. Danny Danko of High Times Magazine is here. He just brought out this new book, the official High Times Field Guide to Marijuana Strains. Hi, Danny.
Hi, Paul.
And next to him is the lovely, glad to have you, Angela Fairless, who organized the Hemp Stock Fashion Show. We'll be talking a little bit more about that. We also have Tim Pate and Jonathan Eder over here, ready to play music. Good evening, gentlemen. So without further ado, we're just going to skip our hemp news segment tonight and jump right over the music, and we'll be taking your phone calls in just a minute. But first, let's bring out our infamous Dancing Cannabis Leaf.
I feel the force.
And here's Tim Pate and Jonathan Eder. Good evening, gentlemen.
Oh, good evening, Paul.
Evening.
Everybody else. Jonathan, how are you tonight?
I'm excellent. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you for asking.
You bet. It's the last show of the year. We've been haven't been hit here yet with snow, but it seems like everybody else in the country has gotten hit. And since we're in 18 markets, I understand now, we're just going to play a little winter music and enjoy the white pieces of stuff on the bud, because I know they show pictures behind us when we're doing this. I know that.
That's Tim Pate.
Thank you, folks.
Tim Pate, Jonathan Eder. Tim's going to jump over here to the desk, and we'll be taking your phone calls in just a minute. You can call us at 503-288 4448. That's 503-288-4448. We'll be taking your calls right up to the top of the hour. I'd like to welcome our guests again. Welcome, Danny. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Well,
it's good to
great
see
to
you.
have you. So we've got you.
It's good to have you on the show
Thank
as
you so
well.
much.
Good to have you both. You
Nice
look so
to finally
nice. I mean,
meet you.
obviously, you are a fashionista, so it's good.
I
good
do
that you
like
come
sparkle.
on. Yes.
So, Danny, you're up
you.
for the Cannabis Awards here,
Yep.
the Oregon Normal Cannabis Awards.
Yeah, Oregon Medical Cannabis Awards, and that's tomorrow, Saturday, at the Cannabis Cafe. I want to say hi to everybody over there.
All right.
So
So you're
if you-
going to be speaking. You're going to be. What's your topic tomorrow?
I'm doing a grow seminar on growing medical cannabis, basically focusing on getting the most out of each individual plant because, you know, in the past people have done the whole sea of green type of growing method, and now with plant limits being what they are, I think people need to get the most out of each plant. So,
Yes.
which basically boils down to having a large enough container for the root system. So it's really just, it's titled More Root, More Fruit. You're growing the plant from the bottom up, and whatever you give the roots, that's what's going to end up, you know, manifested in the flower. So, and for the best medicine, I think, you know, organic and large plants is the way to go, indoors or out.
There you go.
Yeah.
Another expert, folks. You hear it here.
Well, I noticed your foreword to your new book is written by George Cervantes, and we were happy to have him on the show for the first time last week. So it's
Yeah.
fitting to
Yeah,
have you
follow
on
up.
this week.
That's great.
It's a couple
Yeah,
of-
he's an amazing mentor to me, and someone who, you know, I've admired for years and years. And it's just amazing to have had him write something for my book and have picked me to do that Q&A column and stuff. It's
So you
been-
kind of succeeded him. He wrote as the cultivation.
Yeah, he did 10 years of
High
Jorge's
Times.
RX in High Times, the Q&A at the back, and basically, I guess after 10 years of doing that, you know, he felt like he answered every question he could, and passed that along to me as of a little over a year ago. So, yeah, and it's been fun, and it's been a challenge, and it's exciting to just to share different people's growing techniques with other people, so that everyone can benefit. You know, that's really the ultimate goal is that everybody's medicine gets higher in quality and lower in price. Really,
Right.
Exactly.
yeah.
Makes sense.
So Angela, welcome to our show as well.
Thank you so very much.
How are you doing?
Really well. I got lost on the way here, but Lee Burger rescued me. Thank you.
Oh,
Lee
very good.
Burger.
Well, that's good. I guess we have a call standing by. A little sound glitch there.
You can hear it.
Hello, caller. Welcome to the show. Hello, caller.
Hello, is that me?
Hello.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you, Barry.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, I can't hear you too well. I just moved to this area recently, to the Gresham area in Portland, and I'm on pain management. I have a whole bunch of tumors, and I'm legally blind, and I have severe arthritis, and I'm on pain management, and I'm wondering if you know of any doctors or clinics that won't reject you because you have THC in your system. You know, when you sign the narcotics contract with them. I haven't found a doctor here yet.
Yeah, that is a real problem. I can't say right off the top of my head and direct you to any specific pain management clinic. I know you do have to sign those contracts to be able to get the pain medication. Unfortunately, I can't recommend one here right now.
I see. Well, also, I don't, okay, well, thank you very much. If anybody out there knows it, I can't put my number out there, can I?
No, you shouldn't put your phone number out there. But I'll tell you what, give us a call at 503-235-4606. That number that just popped up there on your screen, 503-235-4606. And explain your question there, and we'll do our best to get some information back to you as soon as we can.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your program. I've been enjoying watching it.
Great.
Take care.
Good luck.
You're doing good work.
Thanks.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that.
Bye.
Good evening.
I'm certain that a lot of the patients in our circle would have, some of them will have at least some arrangement with the pain management group out there that does allow that. We know that we've gotten calls from time to time from that, so hopefully she'll be able to find one fairly soon.
Yeah, it's a serious issue. What happens is, these doctors give you these narcotics, and it only takes about a week to become completely addicted to them.
Yes.
And then once they've hooked you to these things, then they label you a drug seeker and put you on a pain management contract. And it's a nasty cycle. What we try to do is help patients break out of that cycle by using medical marijuana, which isn't physically addictive, and increases their quality of life. But finding someone that will, or a pain management clinic that will help wean them off or work with them in conjunction with medical marijuana can be a real problem. But that's what we try to do. If you're out there and you have a question for our panel about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, or helping medical marijuana patients, call us at that number there on your screen, 503-288-4448. And we'll be taking your calls for about another 45 minutes. So Angela, you organized the hemp fashion show, and you were very active in your community around ballot measure 74. You want to talk about some of the things you've done with that?
Sure. With measure 74, well, let's start. The hemp fashion show is the first thing that I decided to do in cannabis politics. Most of my political activism previous to doing cannabis was youth related. And so I took a break from that to kind of separate things in my small community. Take
So you're out from coastal Oregon?
Yeah, I'm from Seaside, so in Clatsop County there. And so what we had down there, when the Secretary of State picks their panel of people to write the voters pamphlet, they pick 2 people for and 2 people against, and then 1 neutral person. So the 2 people against ballot measure 74 was my sheriff and my district attorney out of the entire state. So I had very vocal opponents in my county as our officials, and almost no, well, really none whatsoever, no public activism whatsoever. There's
no local support down there in Clatsop County.
At the time, there was only one actual group there, a marijuana group, but they're too afraid to be public, and so I decided to sort of become Clatsop County's first cannabis activist, and I hosted my first event where I had a panel of speakers, which included my sheriff, Tom Bergen. He came and argued 4 people. We had Greg Barton, who's a microbiologist and a lawyer, legal counsel for Oregon Green Free, and Ed Glick, patients of Out of Time. Absolutely. He was a great nurse working really hard on getting post-traumatic stress to be included as one of the qualifying conditions for medical marijuana. So I had a great panel of people with the sheriff there, and that was when we were still in the initiative stages for I-28, and then later, after it became a ballot measure 74, I had another one with our district attorney, Josh Markey, and Lee Berger, and that was at City Hall there. And the mayor, yeah, it's a really, really small town, so it was. They were super great. Almost 6,000, and I was born and raised there, so I know everybody. I've known the mayor since I was really young, and everybody that works at City Hall. So it was, and I wrote in the local newspaper for a couple of years. Everybody knows me, and it was a really big deal to come out of the cannabis closet, so to speak. But it's been a lot of fun. I've done a lot of published writings in the local newspapers because I had done some of that previous to that. Just not about this. So it started really with the hemp fashion show, which we do at Hempstock. I think this year it'll be Sunday the 11th, I believe.
I think it's the 10th and 11th this year. September 10th and 11th.
Yeah,
is the
and so our
Hempstock
show's on the
Festival.
2nd day.
Good.
Just super fun.
Then it will be that day. You're right.
Yeah.
All right, we have another caller who is on their show. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm calling out of Beaverton, Oregon.
Okay.
And I'm kind of got a question for you guys. My son was going through Oregon Green Free, and he had a lot of problems with picking up medication and picking up clones to where we can start our own site here. And he did get a couple
problems, what do you mean?
What is the problem? The problem is he's having a hard time finding places here that will actually give him medication.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's a problem with getting plants so we can start our own site.
Right.
You know, which I do have my cards to grow and be his caregiver, but I'm having a hard time trying to find medication for him until we get our stuff done.
Right.
Sure.
That is a typical problem of any first-time patient.
A good thing to do would be to go to this Oregon Medical Cannabis Awards tomorrow at the Oregon Cannabis Cafe. I know that's going to be at 322 is it southeast 82nd? I think it's southeast. Yeah.
Okay. Where exactly is that again?
That's at 322 Southeast 82nd Avenue in Portland, just off of Stark in Washington.
Okay, great. Okay,
so Danny will be there. It's a lovely location, and they'll have this Cannabis Awards throughout the day. They'll have a kind of a trade show, so to speak, and then Danny here will be teaching a class on cultivation techniques. Isn't that right, Danny?
Yeah, absolutely. And as to your problem, about access and really the best thing you can do is grow out your own mother plants.
You got to get some to start.
Right. Well, you can start with seeds in this book. I chose most of these are available in seed form. There's very few. I
was noticing that.
Yeah, very few clone only. So the contact information's there to contact them. And, you don't have to grow from seed every time. You don't have to pay these prices every time. You grow them out and you get a mother plant, and then you take clones from that yourself, and you can be self-sufficient and not necessarily have to rely on, an outside source for clones.
Okay. Is there any way, so if he shows up at this cup tomorrow, is there any way that he will be sent out with some medication?
I doubt that would be the case.
It's all done by donation, and they give stuff away, they give clones away, all depending on when you're there and what's the situation.
Okay. So what time does this start tomorrow?
I believe it's 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. is the daytime event, and then from 6 to 9 is the awards banquet. The daytime event is free admission, and then the nighttime awards banquet is actually a paid event. But from 10 to 5, it's a free event. There's vendors and all kinds of interesting stuff going on, so I would definitely check that out. It'll definitely point you in the right direction.
Okay, so do you have to have your cards
Absolutely.
On you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, bring your cards and your photo ID, and you don't have to have a card to go to the event, but you do have to have a card to access the medication station that they'll have there. I'm sure of that.
Definitely, my son's got it. He's just really frustrated because when he was calling up to get medication, I mean, it's just
it's difficult.
They were being considerate about it.
It is difficult in this environment because of some of the restrictions on the Oregon medical cannabis law. However, there's a lot of new things springing up all over the state, so I think you'll see a lot more opportunities to get medicine and plants in the near future.
Okay, great. Okay, well, you answered my question, bud. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks
Good
for your
luck.
call.
All right, bye-bye.
If you have a question for us tonight, give us a call at 503-288-4448. So you've covered, what, 125 strains here?
Yeah, there's a little over, there's probably 130 or so.
Looks like you've got a few crucial Oregon breeders.
Yeah,
I know you got DJ Short, a couple of his strains in there, and
the Blueberry, the legendary Blueberry, and a few others, Flow, and people ask me, is there really that many varieties? And I told them there's way more than there are in this book.
You could do 10 of these at 125 a strain, right?
To narrow it down.
Well, I think you picked out some of the best ones here. You've got that Blueberry. There's one of my favorites, Trainwreck. The Lemon Skunk, obviously. I like the lemon flavor ones. I have my own little lemon variety. It looks like a great book.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was that there's already a lot of nice coffee table type books, and this is more of a reference guide.
Right.
Something you can put in your pocket.
Field guide.
A field guide. Something you take with you to Amsterdam or up here to the Pacific Northwest or Northern California, wherever you happen to be.
So you're from New York City, right?
Yes.
How long have you been in New York?
About 15 years or so I've been living there.
That's a pretty good time.
Yeah.
Pretty good amount of time.
Yeah. I mean, our cannabis situation in New York is,
way expensive.
We're in the dark ages compared to, when I traveled to places like here. I mean, you guys are light years ahead of where we're at. We're still working on a medical law, even though we have a governor who suffers from glaucoma, our legislature is very impotent when it comes to cannabis. They're afraid to to put their necks on the line, even though the majority of state residents are for it, overwhelmingly.
Well, you know what got me is I know New York is one of the decriminalization states, but I know that the New York City police like to ask you to show them your marijuana, and once you do, then they arrest you for public display of marijuana, not the simple possession, which they could just give you a ticket for. It's one of their tricks there.
It's kind of one of the tricks, and Giuliani instituted that sort of policy when he was mayor, and then Bloomberg kind of he wimped out on it himself, even though he's an admitted cannabis consumer and he liked it.
I know, that's what there's a billboard there that Normal financed in Times Square that covered just that issue, didn't they?
Yeah, and it's really, I mean, it's just shameful sometimes that these politicians, and even if you talk to them face to face off the record, they support us. They know cannabis should be legal. They know that patients are benefiting from it. Right. They know it works for veterans, for post-traumatic stress. They know all those things. They have people in their families who've had cancer and have used it. They're just wimps. They're
politicians.
Afraid, they're politicians, and they're not. They don't have our best interests at heart, most of them. So, and really, what we should do is just vow not to vote for them. Anybody who would put us in jail or keep us.
I agree with that.
I do
too. You're going to put me in jail for cannabis. I'm not going to vote for you, that's for sure.
No way.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Howdy.
I was curious if there's going to be any changes in the law in 2011 regarding the relationships between cardholders, caregivers, and growers, or any changes with medical marijuana at all expected?
Well, there are a lot of different proposals in the Oregon State Legislature and in the Washington State Legislature, and so we can expect changes. There's going to be a lot of debates regarding this, so just stay tuned. The legislative sessions in both states will start in January, but it's not just happening in Oregon and Washington. In almost every single state where there's medical marijuana law, and in many others that want to have medical marijuana laws, there's a lot of debate, but you can bet that the legislature is going to be looking at a variety of different issues when it comes to medical marijuana.
Right,
I can't say exactly what those are. And if you know about the legislative process, I know they say there's two things you don't want to watch, and one's sausage making and law making. And both of them can be pretty obnoxious.
Yeah, but as of the first of the year, right now, there are no changes.
No changes right now,
No, there are no changes to the law as it stood here in Oregon for the past couple of years.
Okay, thank you very much. You have a great show.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for watching. Good night.
So we've got basically coast-to-coast representation of,
from sea to shining sea.
I'm sitting here realizing that.
Well, I was just at the Pacific Ocean this morning.
That's it. Activism happens everywhere, and it is where you are. That's a very good point right here. You have to make it alive where you live, and let your representatives know what's wrong with the law there. And help them. Like, you probably did your sheriff more favors by having him sit and debate with intelligent people who had something important to say on the subject. He probably learned more in that short a time than any other opportunity he's ever had. So you gave that to him. That's
I'm
a
not
good
sure
thing.
if he would agree with you on that.
I don't either,
I
don't
think
either.
it did a lot of people a lot of good.
I think so too. Just
day.
having him up there. Eventually,
the conversation. That's it.
You
change perceptions just by having the conversation. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think anything that you do to promote it is going to create some sort of social awareness. I mean, just something as simple as wearing a pot leaf on your hat or a shirt or on a tie, that just opens up people's mind. It just makes people think about it. It just puts it in their head, even if it's just people you see on the bus or on the sidewalk. Then cannabis is in their head, and then they've thought about it that day. And the more people think about it, I think the more that they'll question the things that are going on and how it doesn't make sense, and that's really important.
Well, it's really clear.
It's the social change in our minds that has to happen before the political change. God knows they're going to take forever.
And the education.
Like you said, in the
for those of us on this panel, obviously, we know a lot about cannabis and why it should be legal, and this show is about spreading that education and getting the word out, and that's what it takes, because I can tell you, in the 15 years I've been doing this show, we've seen some radical changes here in this state, and I bet we'll see a lot more in the couple years to come.
I hope so. I think so myself. I think you're right. I truly do.
In fact, if you are out there and interested in finding out more about our efforts to legalize marijuana in the state of Oregon, you can go to hemp.org. That's HEMP.org. And we will be kicking off our petition campaign for our new law to legalize and regulate marijuana and allow adults to grow their own without a license, and to allow industrial hemp to be cultivated. So we'll be starting that petition campaign in the spring. We've already gathered our sponsorship signatures, so we're pretty much ready to go on that.
Excellent.
I think we'll see initiatives to legalize marijuana all up and down the West Coast, and probably in the state of Colorado as well, and maybe some others.
I think, yeah, Vermont and Massachusetts are coming up as well, I think, on full, decrim legalization,
Good.
Yeah, so well, it's happening.
It is. It is.
You can go to that website as well, the cannabistaxact.org, to find out more. If you have a question for us tonight, or you want to ask Danny Danko any questions about his new book, the official High Times Field Guide to Marijuana Strains, or Angela Fairless about activism in small communities and the Hemp Fashion Show, give us a call. That number there on your screen. It's 503-288-4448. So High Times has come out with this new medical marijuana magazine. How many issues have been out so far?
That is the 4th one. We're working on the 5th one.
Is it a bi-monthly or a quarterly?
It's quarterly.
Quarterly.
It's a quarterly, and it's sold primarily in states with medical marijuana laws.
There you go.
At Barnes & Nobles and Borders. And, we just felt that we needed a title to focus solely on the medical scene, because High Times is really for everybody: the recreational user, the medical user, the spiritual user, but we wanted something to really focus on medicinal cannabis, and in particular for veterans with post-traumatic stress syndrome, and people who really, people with MS, people who really absolutely need cannabis to survive.
Right.
And so we felt it was the right time to put the focus on patients and come out with a magazine specifically for them, with dispensary state-by-state guides as to what the laws are, write-ups of the local dispensaries or caregiver, medibles, all those things, all written up. And the most interesting one from this new one is something we just recently learned about, and it's juicing the raw cannabis leaves, along with other juices, adding leaves, to, fresh, big fan leaves to the juicer.
So what does that taste like?
They're adding carrot
Other
juice and
juices,
other
yeah.
juices to sweeten it. But there's live enzymes and cannabinoids that haven't been, processed through any kind of process. There's actually enzymes that are alive and very beneficial. And no studies have really been done. It's all fairly anecdotal, but we're hearing really good things, and people are kind of embracing this new thing of juicing the leaves, and they're fan leaves that they're pulling off.
Yet,
yeah,
but it's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's a big thing now in Northern California, and I think it's going to spread to other areas as because for certain medicinal uses, it's not a very psychoactive kind of high. It's much more of a body thing. I haven't personally tried it myself, but from reading about it, it seems like a very interesting new development for medicinal patients.
Well, I like green juices in general, whether it's wheatgrass or kale or any of those.
Yeah, it makes sense
really
when you
good
think
for
about
you.
it. It's just another leafy green.
Right.
And that the juice should be beneficial in one way or another, but I think that they're going to find that it's very beneficial.
It'll be real interesting. As long as marijuana is recognized by the federal government in this category they call Schedule 1, they don't allow any testing on it. The regimens are very strict. Even scientists can't get access to medical cannabis to carry out legitimate research. And it can't be tested on women of childbearing age. That's another part of it being a Schedule 1 narcotic. So
The testing that they do encourage is testing to prove falsehoods.
Yeah, that's right. They try to
Yeah.
specifically
That's it.
target
Right.
the tests just for
Prove the negative.
finding negative aspects to it. And a lot of times those are discredited after a short period of time because they aren't really based on real science.
Yeah.
We have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Thank you. A little while ago, Angela was talking about wearing a cannabis leaf as a way to raise awareness and get people discussing the subject, and I noticed that on Facebook fairly recently you were talking about something very much like that, something called the armband proposal. So I was wondering if you might share that.
Go ahead and tell our audience about that.
Okay, as I've been seeing it on Facebook, what they're trying to do is get everyone that believes prohibition should end to wear a green armband on their left arm with a yellow cannabis leaf on it. The fairly obvious historical reference being to the Stars of David and the pink triangles that the Nazis made the Jews and homosexuals wear in World War II. And you on your Facebook thing said something about that it was also a really good comparison to the propaganda that the Nazis used about their targets. So I believe that where they're going.
Do you know
with
what the
it is
Facebook address is so our audience can find out more if they're interested in that?
I believe it's the armband proposal on Facebook.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Bye.
We have a film clip we're going to roll right now. We'll be back in just a moment to take more calls, questions, and stay tuned.
Long ago, when these ancient Grecian temples were new, hemp was already old in the service of mankind. For thousands of years even then, this plant had been grown for cordage and coarse cloth in China and elsewhere in the East. For centuries prior to about 1850, all the ships that sailed the western seas were rigged with hempen rope and sails. For the sailor, no less than the hangman, hemp was indispensable. A 44-gun frigate, like our cherished old Ironsides, took over 60 tons of hemp for rigging. Including an anchor cable 25 inches in circumference. The Conestoga wagons and prairie schooners of pioneer days were covered with hempen canvas. Indeed, the very word canvas comes from the Arabic word for hemp. In those days, hemp was an important crop in Kentucky and Missouri. Then came cheaper imported fibers for cordage, like jute, sisal, and manila hemp, and the culture of hemp in America declined. But now, with Philippine and East Indian sources of hemp in the hands of the Japanese, and shipment of jute from India curtailed, American hemp must meet the needs of our Army and Navy as well as of our industries. In 1942, patriotic farmers at the government's request planted 36,000 acres of seed hemp, an increase of several thousand %. The goal for 1943 is 50,000 acres of seed hemp. In Kentucky, much of the seed hemp acreage is on river bottom land such as this, along the Kentucky River Gorge. Some of these fields are inaccessible except by boat. Thus, plans are afoot for a great expansion of the hemp industry as a part of the war program. This film is designed to tell farmers how to handle this ancient crop, now little known outside Kentucky and Wisconsin. This is hemp seed. Be careful how you use it. For to grow hemp legally, you must have a federal registration and tax stamp. This is provided for in your contract. Ask your AAA committeeman or your county agent about it. Don't forget, hemp demands a rich, well-drained soil such as is found here in the bluegrass region of Kentucky or in central Wisconsin. must be loose and rich in organic matter. Poor soils won't do. Soil that will grow good corn will usually grow hemp. Hemp is not hard on the soil. In Kentucky, it has been grown for several years on the same ground, though this practice is not recommended. A dense and shady crop, hemp tends to choke out weeds. Here's a Canada thistle that couldn't stand the competition. Dead as a dodo. Thus, hemp leaves the ground in good condition for the following crop. For fiber, hemp should be sown 5 pecks to the acre. With drill, the closer the rows, the better. These rows are spaced about 4 inches. This hemp has been broadcast. Either way, it should be sown thick enough to grow a slender stalk. Here's an ideal stand. The right height to be harvested easily, thick enough to grow slender stalks that are easy to cut and process. Stalks like these here on the left, they yield the most fiber and the best. Those on the right are too coarse and woody. For seed, hemp is planted in hills like corn, sometimes by hand. Hemp is a dioecious plant. The female flower is inconspicuous, but the male flower is easily spotted. In seed production, after the pollen has been shed, these male plants are cut out. These are the seeds on a female plant. Hemp for fiber is ready to harvest when the pollen is shedding and the leaves are falling. In Kentucky, hemp harvest comes in August. Here, the old standby has been the self-rake reaper, which has been used for a generation or more. Hemp grows so luxuriantly in Kentucky that harvesting is sometimes difficult, which may account for the popularity of the self-rake with its lateral stroke. A modified rice binder has been used to some extent. This machine works well in average hemp. Recently, the improved hemp harvester, used for many years in Wisconsin, has been introduced in Kentucky. This machine spreads the hemp in a continuous swath. It is a far cry from this fast and efficient modern harvester to the Armstrong model of yore.
That is Hemp for Victory, a 1943 United States Department of Agriculture film after hemp had been prohibited back in 1937 under federal law and the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 after the start of World War II in 41, and they cut off foreign sources of fiber from the Philippines and South Asia. So farmers had to go back and start cultivating cannabis again, and Jack Hare and this lady Maria went through the Library of Congress and finally, after a lot of effort, dug out this tape and restored it to public knowledge and everything. So we're very proud to continue to show clips of that. It's very, very informative. Now, Angela, you have Katie here. Hello, Katie. You've got a hemp dress on?
She does, actually. She's wearing hemp. This is the hemp silk, which you can also see here. I think a lot of people think of hemp as the really strong, sturdy fiber, but it actually, with technology, you can find it in all sorts of really soft, pretty colors. And then just to demonstrate a little bit real quick, we're going to show, this is one of the marijuana leaves from my medical marijuana garden, and this is actually how we paint for the fashion show.
Have you ever tried juicing them?
I haven't, but I'm going to go home and do that. Yeah, no, that sounds like a really good idea. And I've read a lot of studies with using fresh buds in the coconut capsules because of the something.
Now, I think
it's like comparing raw food, you know, like the health, like you were talking about, the enzymes. It's just alive and healthier, and it's just a different, anyhow. So we do use fresh leaves for our painting at the show.
So that's how the...
yeah, and that's how, you know,
I know when I
we
first
both
met you,
have
I was down at the, what was it, the Jefferson Cup. You had a painting. Oh, maybe it was your painting that I first...
Yeah, they had one of my paintings
Yeah, your painting down there, which is you take the leaves from your garden and you put them onto canvas.
Yeah, and then it makes a perfect little print. It leaves, you know, the veins, you can see it, and it's just, it's the perfect... you can't mess with nature, you know. I mean, it really is one of the most beautiful plants, and even something as beautiful as a pretty girl looks better with a polyf on it.
There you go.
And so we do, what we do at the show is a body art. So we actually paint not just their clothing, but everything. And the first year we did a goddess theme and had a lot of hemp silk. But this year we did just like that. The video we just saw, our show was titled "Hemp for Victory," and that had a lot of the war protest themes and how hemp was helpful in that.
So you're going to do
you
a
guys
face
go ahead
painting.
and talk, and I'll just kind of paint her face with a pot leaf so you can see how.
Okay, that sounds good.
Cool.
So Danny, tomorrow you're going to do this cultivation seminar. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's
And what time does
medical
that start?
marijuana cultivation seminar. It's noon to 3.
Uh-huh.
And I'll be taking questions from the audience for as long as people want to keep asking.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's my goal ultimately, is that people be self-sufficient if they want to be, and otherwise they can find a caregiver who treats them right, but for those caregivers, or for whoever wants to provide themselves with their own medicine, that's really, for me, the ultimate goal. Is there's no feeling like creating your own medicine, and then using it, not just because you're saving money, but just the whole process of creating life. If you're sick, and participating in this incredible pursuit. I mean, gardening in general is a very therapeutic and life-affirming kind of thing to do, and it teaches you a lot, not just about life, but about death and about pain and about overfeeding or overwatering and all these things that you may or may not realize are important, not just when you're growing plants, but in life in general, So
Danny Danko of High Times Magazine is our guest tonight, and he just came out with a new book, the official High Times Field Guide to Marijuana Strains, where he reviews 125 strains. He'll be teaching this cultivation seminar tomorrow at the Oregon Medical Cannabis Awards, which is taking place at the Cannabis Cafe at 322 Southeast 82nd Avenue, and that's a free event for the trade show. Is there a fee for your seminar?
There is a fee for the seminar. The trade show itself is free and open to the public.
And then there's Cannabis Awards. That's from the trade show is from 10 a.m. till 5 or 6?
10 to 5.
And then the cultivation seminar is noon to 3, you said?
Noon to 3.
Maybe later?
At that same location, but in a different area.
And then the awards are the same place, but they're from 6 to 9.
Yeah, and
so
there's a banquet and a dinner thing and an awards ceremony.
I did not enter this year. I was kind of busy, but I have won a few of those in my past, and very proud of that. And I didn't get in the contest this year, but I'll be off at the KushCon on a flight tomorrow morning at about 5 a.m. So I'll be off in Denver. There's a big conference there in Denver this
Shout outs
week.
to everybody at KushCon. I got a bunch of friends there, some High Times people, and some of the performers and exhibitors and people working in the booths and doing the hard work to just get our message out there to the masses.
Yeah, the whole crew from the Seattle Hemp Fest will be there too. I was at the Seattle core staff meeting this last Tuesday night, and
I'm on a couple panels with Vivian. Big Peak. I noticed that.
Excellent.
So, Katie, you've got the leaf on the face there. We'll have a little close-up, and that's a real marijuana leaf you put right on the face. With like tempera paint, is that what you're using?
Yeah, we use body paint for the bodies, fabric paint for the fabric, and then I've done acrylic on a lot of, like the canvas I think that you purchased at a fundraiser. I do acrylic. Bummer you can't get hemp canvas, but we did have our Hemp American flag last time, so it just depends on what you're using.
And there's the leaf. Thank you for modeling that leaf and cannabis canvas clothing.
There you go.
It's kind of a tongue twister. We have a caller who's been standing by. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller. Oh, they're gone. Well, this is your chance, folks. If you have a question for us, call us at 503-288-4448.
I got a question for Danny now. Being the High Times in person, a very important person. You've written for High Times. You've gotten to travel around and, go to lots of events.
Did you go to the Cannabis Cup in Amsterdam here last month?
There, you had that chance to. Now you've gotten to smoke some really good, medicine. I know all over. How would you compare Oregon's to everybody else's?
Well, the Pacific Northwest has its tradition and its flavors, and really a distinct kind of cannabis to the region. I think Williams Wonder and a lot of the strains of the 80s and 90s that became popular nationwide and even worldwide had their start in this area as people moved north from Northern California. So, a lot of the purple strains are really popular. And so it's interesting because, in Vancouver in Canada, they have kind of their distinct, tastes and flavors. NorCal has theirs, Southern Cali, the Kush. And so the Pacific Northwest just fits with, for me, right there along with those other three kind of major West Coast regions, if I had to split them up,
Sure.
And there's you guys have a pretty harsh climate typically for outdoor, and so the adaptability and the strains acclimating to the somewhat harsher conditions have made for strains that when you take them to other areas, less harsh environments, are incredibly huge yielding and amazingly great at resisting molds and pests and stuff because they've survived here. And I think that's really important to cannabis genetics. I think people have been growing here for several generations.
George Cervantes, your mentor, is from right here in the Portland area. He had a horticulture store over in southeast Portland.
Long before he wrote any grow books or anything.
I first met him back in '85 and followed his book in one of my first indoor gardens.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's amazing when you're with him at a cannabis convention or something, and somebody comes up and says, thanks for putting my kids through college. It's just what a wonderful thing for somebody to say, and just the fact that that's even remotely true. It's just amazing.
We have a couple more questions here. One from our studio audience member we'll take first. Go right ahead.
There's a couple of things that have come up over the last few days. Maybe you are aware, maybe you're not. One is our Senator Wyden has got cancer. He may change his aspect on medical marijuana. This is a hopeful thing. You might, which I wish him the best.
Me too.
And this one of the religious leaders, Robertson, I heard him say, we were discussing the full jails across the country and how much more people are in jail in the United States than any other country per capita.
Yeah.
And he says they're putting kids in jail for taking a couple of puffs of marijuana.
So Pat Robertson said that, huh?
I'm not kidding. And he said that somebody getting caught with 2 or 3 ounces of marijuana go into jail. They're mandatory minimums. They ended up putting them in jail for 10 years. They come out as hardened criminals.
Yeah.
And with the mandatory minimums, the judges can't say anything, and it just keeps filling up our prisons. And so, in any case, it was just a unique thing for him to say.
Thanks for sharing that. I wasn't aware of either one of those, so I appreciate it.
I understand that former Governor Gary Johnson of New Mexico was outed by some conservative magazine this week because...
Well, he wasn't really outed. He was asked a question.
Yes,
and he answered the question honestly.
Yeah,
that's different than being outed. Outed has a negative connotation that you didn't want this to come out and somebody told on you. But Gary Johnson said he'd never been asked that question.
That's true.
And said he had used medical marijuana when he had cancer from like 2002 through 2006 or something like that.
Right.
Some period of time there.
Because of a
Gary
back injury.
Johnson was the governor, 2-term governor, Republican governor of the state of New Mexico. He spoke at our Hempstock Festival here this past summer, and he could well be a Republican presidential hopeful. And boy, I'll tell you, I never thought I'd vote for a Republican, but if he ran, I might consider it,
There you go.
We have another caller on the telephone. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Very well. How are you?
Good. My name is Leo, and I'm a cancer patient with osteosarcoma bone cancer.
Bummer.
And I'm a new card holder, but I'm in the dark as far as where to find growers.
Right.
It is difficult. It is difficult. What we've said here earlier today is there's this event tomorrow. I don't know if you can make it down to that. It's the Oregon Medical Cannabis Awards.
I heard that. Now I was going to write down the address, but I couldn't get a pen quick enough.
You got one now?
Yes, I do.
Go grab your pen, audience, if you haven't got it already. It's at 322 Southeast 82nd Avenue. That's 322 Southeast 82nd Avenue. That's the new home of the Oregon Cannabis Cafe. And the event starts, I believe, at 10 a.m. It'll run through 5 p.m. That's a free trade show. Danny will have a fee-based cultivation seminar. And then there'll be an awards banquet from 6 to 9 that night. So it's at 322 Southeast 82nd Avenue here in River City, Portland, Oregon.
Do you know what time I should go there for the information that I need? Because I can't be there all day.
I would say probably the afternoon is a good time. It gets busier. I can tell you, having gone to most of the recent ones, it's kind of slow in the morning, but it's a lot more crowded in the afternoon.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, you're welcome.
Okay, goodbye.
Yeah, good luck.
It is difficult. There's going to be a lot more solutions out there for people in your predicament. Obviously, I think this is the third caller we've had tonight with the same issue. But, you know, we're working to resolve that. I know the legislature is going to look at the potential of setting up dispensaries, and there are already dispensaries springing up all over the place. I can't sit here and start naming them off, but there are more and more of them, and you can probably find out more if you go to this event tomorrow. There'll be more in the near future as well. If you're out there, though, and you think you might qualify for medical marijuana, don't know how to find a doctor who can help, then we have a physician referral service and doctors all across the country and that would be willing to help you. Just give us a call at that number on your screen. Anywhere in the United States, you can call us toll-free 24 hours a day at 800-723-0188. That's 800-723-0188. If you're here in the Portland area, here in Oregon, call us at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. And we have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hi, how you doing, man?
Real well. How are you?
I'm great. I just wanted to tell you thank you for this last summer's hemp stock. It's the first time I've been there.
Did you enjoy it?
Out. Oh, dude, I loved it.
Cool.
I couldn't feel more freer in my life.
It was a free zone. It was a lot of fun. We'll have another one coming up this September 10th and 11th. So stay tuned. You can go to our website hempstock.org to find out more or get involved.
Right on, for sure. My question was, what's going on with Octa, man?
We just gathered the sponsorship signatures, and we're waiting for a ballot title, question, and summary from the state. So we expect to have petitions hitting the street by the spring.
That's great, man.
We're hoping to put it on the ballot for a vote in 2012, and we are going to start gathering signatures and try to qualify it in a record-breaking time.
That's great. That's great, man.
And for those out there who don't know, Octa is the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act petition that would legalize the sale of marijuana and would allow adults to grow their own. And it would also legalize industrial hemp for all its many purposes.
Right on, man. Yeah, I just want to give it up to you and Tim and Belleville, and I'm so thankful that you guys are around and we don't have the same BS that's going on down in Cali, and them giving them, you know, the problems they're giving them. They shouldn't be doing that. They should just leave it alone. I mean, I'm kind of sad because I feel like in California they're kind of taking advantage of it a little bit. You know, it's like, you know, you don't need to have people out in the front of your dispensary in whatever they're in.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it could be.
But, you know, it's like...
Gives us a bad image, there's no doubt.
Yeah, you know, keep it, you know, we need to get away from that. We need to be...
I agree.
We're all on the same page, you know, and we're trying to get it out there, and we don't need that. So... But I really appreciate what you guys are doing. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
You guys. I love you.
Thanks for your call.
Thank you very much.
We love you too.
All right, man. Peace.
All right.
Yeah, it's not as patient-friendly in some areas of the world. You're right. And California has really taken on a very commercial model. And because of that...
it's easy for patients to get access, but
yes,
it's very expensive.
Very expensive.
Very
Yeah,
expensive.
I
So
mean,
it's not as friendly, in my opinion.
The price to the grower has gone down, but I don't see
price
that.
hasn't
I don't see that
exchanged.
price decrease
Right.
making its way to the retail level,
No.
to the
Until it's
patient
legal.
level,
Not until
and they're
it's
still
legal.
charging. I mean, in some places, $75 for an eighth.
Yeah.
And
outrageous.
that's in the absence
I
of...
grows on trees.
Right, and
you
in
know,
the absence of
I grow
prohibition-
outdoors in 5 to 10 pound plants, and I figured that my costs, including rent and pay to the people taking care of it, and
trimmers.
guards during the season, you need guards. I've got it down to under $15 an ounce.
Yeah.
So,
And if you charged $50 an ounce, you know, to make a living, or to make enough to do it another year, then that's perfectly reasonable for a patient, you know. But $400, $450 an ounce, I mean, for medicine, it's outrageous. And
really
you know, now in the absence of, you know, the risks of prohibition being as great as they used to be, the price needs to go down and follow that that same model. And that price decrease that's already occurred on a wholesale level to the grower from the middleman or whatever needs to reach the patients. You know, they need to be paying less.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And that's what we're trying
It's one of the
to-
things that's happening here that I don't see happening as much in other states. And I think, you know, people like Madeline and yourself really leading the way on that. And I think that there's another whole faction out there that doesn't want to see those prices come down. And it's just a shame, because
I've seen some dispensaries up in Seattle are starting to offer $120, $140 ounces,
That's-
$5
yeah.
grams, and
That's very
That's
reasonable.
scaring some of the other dispensaries. They're like
Well,
not too happy about that, but I'll
yeah.
tell you, the patient is happy, and
Right.
it's the person who comes up with the best price and the best quality is going to win the race in this case.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying before, the quality increases and the price decreases. That's win-win for everybody, and the growers can make a living. The patients aren't going to be paying, you know, their rent money for their medicine, and I just think it's got to happen, you know.
I agree. Well, you know what? We're about out of time. Angela, I want to thank you for coming. We'll have you back on the show here at some point, and we're looking forward to the Hempstock Festival's fashion show this year. I know you're working hard to make it better.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a real hemp runway. We finally found actual hemp wood.
That's
So,
great. That's
yeah,
exciting.
I'm excited for that. Thank
Danny,
you.
is there anything you'd like to say in closing here?
You know, just say hi to everybody at the cafe and all the people out there who are supporting medical, supporting all use of cannabis and hemp. And I think it's really important to just, like we were talking about earlier, tell your parents, tell your friends, tell your mailman, you know, have the conversation with them. And they're the ones that are going to turn the tide for us.
You know, I just want to let our viewers know that we are going to have a tape show for the next 2 weeks. On Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, we'll have a new show running, but it'll be taped events from the Seattle Hemp Fest and the Portland Hempstock Festival. But we'll be back live the first week in January, so tune back in and help us restore hemp. Here is Tim Pate and Jonathan Eder. I want to thank our guests and thank our viewers. Good night.
See you next year, folks.